My partner, Sarah, had a particular fondness for the lunches I prepared for her. This habit began when we were dating in college and continued after we got married. For nearly a decade, I diligently packed her lunch each day. Then, one ordinary afternoon, I discovered one of those familiar lunchboxes in the hands of her colleague, a man named David, whose online presence was quite active on social media. It struck me as odd. Who still uses such old-fashioned lunchboxes? That day, Sarah returned home without her usual lunch container. When I inquired about it, she casually remarked that she had been thinking, and, much like food past its expiration date, the lunchbox had served its time. She suggested I buy a new one the next day. As I reflected on her recent late nights and the fact that her phone had become off-limits, a troubling thought surfaced. Perhaps it wasn't the lunchbox that had grown old, but her affection for me. However, when I finally decided to confront this fading love, she seemed to regret it. "Where's the lunchbox?" I asked one evening as Sarah came home empty-handed. The familiar container was nowhere to be seen, I asked deliberately, wanting to hear her explanation. Sarah simply shrugged and sat down. "I've used it for years," she said. "It was about time. Buy a new one tomorrow." I looked at her, a sense of stubbornness rising within me. "Where's the lunchbox?" I repeated. Suddenly, Sarah's composure broke, and a flash of anger crossed her face. Holding back some unknown emotion, she blurted out, "I threw it out! You know how long I've used that thing? Food has an expiration date, and so did it." "I don't get it," I said, confused. "Why question me over a lunchbox?" Her frustration seemed to boil over. "It's like you're always cooking the same stuff, Michael. Do you have to be so stuck in your ways? You have no idea how suffocating it is. All my coworkers have so many options every day, but I'm the only one bringing lunch. Have you even seen a boss carry a lunchbox every day? I've respected you enough. Why be this pushy?" I watched her vent, a frown etched on her face. She seemed so different from the girl who had once pleaded with me to make her lunch, the one who had insisted that no other food could compare to what I cooked, the one who had begged me for these very lunches. "Got it," I said, my tone flat. Sarah looked as if she had just punched a pillow. An awkward silence filled the room. She rubbed her nose, composed herself, and sat down again. "That's not what I meant," she started to say. "Don't say it," I interrupted. "The bath's ready. Just go take a shower." Once she was in the bathroom, I opened the social media app on my phone. By chance, I stumbled upon the account of her company's assistant, David. There, in one of his posts, was Sarah. I knew everyone at her company except for David. She had never mentioned him. His posts were mostly about eating, sleeping, and Sarah. Curiosity piqued, I continued to scroll through his profile. That day, he had posted a picture of my familiar lunchbox. The caption read, "Boss is generous. Can't eat takeout with my tummy issues, and boom, she gives me her homemade lunch. Tastes good, but this lunchbox is so tacky." So, Sarah had discarded the lunchbox because of his comment. 6 years of dating and 4 years of marriage, and Sarah had always been so considerate of my feelings. I thought about her recent late nights and the new rule about not touching her phone. Now, David's cheerful smile on the screen began to sting. It wasn't the lunchbox that had become outdated, nor the meals that had grown tiresome. Was it me? When Sarah came out of the shower, I was still on the couch, staring at my phone. She sighed, stood before me, still looking upset. Then, her voice softened. "I got a bit emotional earlier. I take back what I said, but Michael, you really made me feel bad over a lunchbox. No need to keep asking. I'll buy a new one tomorrow and you can make me lunch again, okay?" I turned my head away from her outstretched hand and looked up at her. "Sarah, do you remember what that lunchbox means?" Annoyed, she tugged at her hair. "It's just a lunchbox. What's it supposed to mean?" Mid-sentence, something seemed to dawn on her. A trace of panic flickered in her eyes. "I threw it in the company's dumpster. I'll go look for it now." She rushed out of the apartment so quickly that she didn't even change out of her robe. Maybe she remembered what that lunchbox truly meant to me. I've always been a picky eater, and my mom used to make my meals fun to encourage me to eat more. She would have been thrilled to see me well-fed. So when Sarah wanted those lunches, I was happy to make them. My mom's influence taught me that it was the best way to show love, creating the comforts of home for the person you care about. Later, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. She kept it hidden from me to spare me worry. My dad had passed away when I was too young to remember, so it had always been just Mom and me. When her illness finally became apparent, she was already nearing the end. Even then, she worried about my meals, despite the fact that I had a wife and was a grown man. The food in that lunchbox was her last meal for me. After she passed away, Sarah took care of everything. I knelt in mourning, holding the lunchbox, and Sarah was by my side, her eyes red with tears. "Mom, rest assured," she had said. "I'll always take care of Michael, just like you did. I'll do an even better job." We shared that lunch, every bite, and she cherished that box. It became a symbol of continuity, of love's enduring presence. But Sarah had thrown it away with her own hands. The early autumn air was a bit chilly, but Sarah returned with a light sheen of sweat on her forehead. She looked disheveled, and her robe had stains on it. There was an odd smell about her, hard to place. She held up a filthy lunchbox, grinning at me as if a great weight had been lifted. "Michael, I got it back." The night outside was growing colder and wetter. For the first time, I felt like I couldn't quite see Sarah clearly. I cleaned that old lunchbox and put it away safely, just as she wanted. I stopped making her lunches. As for David, I didn't ask or bring it up. I just had a feeling that some things change once you talk about them. And that night, seeing Sarah come back, holding that lunchbox, softened my heart for some reason. I told myself to just wait a little longer. Sarah's stomach had always been sensitive. All those nights out had landed her in the hospital more than once. I hadn't been paying close attention to her meals lately, and now she was back in the hospital. I sighed and went to take care of her there. When she's sick, Sarah becomes a bit childlike. She obediently reached out her hand for me to wipe. There was a hint of grievance in her voice. "Michael, I'm like this, and you're still sulking with me?" It seemed as though she had forgotten the harsh words she had spoken that night, believing that I had stopped making her lunches out of spite. I casually lifted my gaze. "I'm just trying to stop being a burden, not holding a grudge." She paused for a moment, then gently pulled me into her arms. "I admit it, okay? I really miss your cooking. The food here is awful. I've gotten used to eating your meals, see? You didn't look after me these days, and now I'm sick." I let her hug me. After a while, I finally wrapped my arms around her waist. Seeing me soften, Sarah held me tighter, as if I were a cherished treasure she had regained. Just as my shaky heart was about to finally settle, the hospital room door swung open. It was some of Sarah's co-workers coming to visit. I quickly pulled away from her embrace, but Sarah stubbornly held on to my hand. "What's there to worry about? We're just an old married couple. Let them see," she said. Everyone came in, all smiles, except for David, who stood out like a sore thumb. He was glaring at Sarah and my joined hands, looking gloomy. But Sarah seemed at ease, joking around with everyone while still holding my hand. "Bro-in-law, haven't seen those trusty lunches of yours lately," someone teased. "Sarah missed them so much she ended up in the hospital." I made an excuse about being busy and let it slide. While everyone teased Sarah about being lucky, David chimed in with a tone dripping in sarcasm. "Oh wow, so the food was all made by bro-in-law?" Funny, every time I said the food outside sucked, Sarah would offer me her lunchbox. I thought it was made by their housekeeper. Who knew I had the honor of eating bro-in-law's cooking? Anyone could pick up on the hostility in his words. Everyone exchanged awkward glances, and the atmosphere became tense. Sarah squeezed my hand tighter, her gaze towards me turning uneasy. I pulled my hand away, smoothly diffusing the tension. As long as you like the food, let's all get together sometime. Sarah can bring you guys to the house, and I'll cook for everyone. I kept the mood light so everyone felt at ease again. Bro-in-law is so generous. We're in for a treat. Yeah, bro-in-law. David just joined 6 months ago, fresh out of college. He's still learning to watch his words. Don't mind him. Do you make braised pork with abalone? We've seen Sarah eating it all the time, and we're dying to try it. Everyone talked over each other, sidling David into the background. His gaze towards me grew colder. Sarah discreetly exhaled and cast him a disapproving look. Noticing her gaze, David pouted, looking a little aggrieved. Sarah's eyes held a silent warning. Eventually, David reluctantly nodded. I watched their little exchange, bemused by how they thought they were being subtle. Oh, Sarah, what part of this is real with you, and what part is just an act? Being with Sarah had always felt natural, almost destined. Because of her upbringing, she had developed an eating disorder back in high school. In college, she looked so frail and pale, with a deep, impenetrable look in her eyes. People are often drawn to mysterious things, and Sarah was beautifully mysterious. So much so that other girls overlooked the gloom she carried. But she never responded to anyone, and kept to herself. Inexplicably, I found myself noticing this classmate who never spoke to anyone. One day at the cafeteria, I opened my homemade lunch as usual. Thanks to my mom's influence, my cooking skills were pretty decent. Since I wasn't a fan of communal living, I didn't apply to live on campus. Instead, I rented an apartment in a neighborhood close to school, so I brought my own lunch every day. That day, while eating, I watched Sarah sitting alone in a corner. She seemed like a solitary figure, detached from the hustle and bustle of the world. Maybe my gaze was a bit too intense because she looked up and met my eyes. At that moment, I was gnawing on a chicken wing, not the most graceful sight. Sarah just watched me eat, her throat moving slightly, and then slowly picked up some white rice in front of her. She still ate very little, but that was the most I had seen her eat in over a month of observing her. That evening, she stopped me. She seemed a bit embarrassed. Hey, can I ask where you bought your food? It looks really appetizing. Before I could reply, she hurried to add, Don't worry, I'm not a weirdo. Your food just looks very tempting, and for the first time I feel like eating. I didn't know she had an eating disorder then. If someone said something so random to me, no matter how attractive they were, I probably would have thought they were nuts. But the sincerity in Sarah's eyes got to me. I couldn't turn her down. I stepped forward with a grin, catching a whiff of the lemon-scented laundry detergent from her clothes. That refreshing scent made the summer night feel just right. Unfortunately, it's my own recipe. I made it myself, can't find it outside. She mumbled an, "Oh," thanked me politely, and walked away, looking a bit down. I didn't realize at the time how fed up she was with taking ineffective medications every day and how much she hated those regular nutrition shots. So, the next day, I placed a lunchbox in front of her. The light in her eyes that day has stayed with me for years. With my company, she gradually got better, and we naturally got together. Everyone said we were meant to be. She smiled brightly, no longer gloomy, holding me as if I were a rare treasure. Thinking about all this made me give in a little. I had just refused Sarah's request for a packed lunch that morning, but by noon, I couldn't help but worry. I was concerned she might eat unhealthily just after being discharged from the hospital. I sighed, made some of her favorite dishes, and delivered them to her office. During lunch, most people had stepped out. Sarah's office door was slightly ajar. As I approached, I heard David's voice. "Your husband really didn't make you lunch today? How stingy of him." Sarah's voice sounded a bit helpless. "Why mention that again? You just love causing misunderstandings, huh?" David seemed a bit wronged. "I was just speaking my mind. It's just a lunchbox. Come on, why? Scared he'll get mad? You said it yourself, it's always the same few dishes. You tired of them or something? Are you really that scared of him? You're Sarah, for goodness sake." Sarah didn't reply. I clutched the lunchbox tighter. Last time, after I handed her the food, she had gobbled it down. I finally understood that look in my mom's eyes every time I ate, her affection and joy. Over the month we had been together, Sarah's health had improved, her complexion had brightened, and her spirits had become more upbeat. I started inviting her to my little place and whipped up different meals for her. I thought she just had a medical eating disorder, but the way she looked at me, with eyes full of tenderness, told a deeper story. She said I was sent by heaven to save her. I playfully pinched her cheek. "Can't be that serious, Sarah. You make it sound like I'm your savior or something." I was pleased with my altruism. Sarah, she truly was a wonderful partner. She stared at me with a devout seriousness. "Yes, Michael, you are my savior." I only then began to grasp the significance of my meals. To her, they were a kind of salvation. Sarah had a father who was a compulsive gambler, to the extent that he didn't recognize his own kin. Her mom couldn't bear it, and ran off with someone else. Her home often had strange women coming and going. Seeing young Sarah, they vented their anger towards her dad onto her. They would force leftover, expired, moldy food down her throat. From a young age, she developed a terror of food. Later, her dad won a huge amount and wanted to settle down with one of the women, but that woman took off with the money. Her dad, enraged, took it out on the clueless Sarah, stuffing rotten food into her mouth in a fit of rage, crying and crying. "You're the bad luck ruining my streak. You say you're hungry while I'm playing, aren't you? Eat it! Swallow it!" If it weren't for a neighbor intervening, that might have been her last day. Her dad later died in a drunk driving accident. Sarah's mom eventually came back for her. She had started her own business, saved up some money, and took Sarah with her. Even if Sarah was starving, she wasn't willing to eat anymore. Her mom felt terrible for her. They had been trying treatments for years, but with little success until they met me. Sarah once saw me as her salvation. Now she was casually telling someone else she was tired of the food I made. I wasn't sure if it was the food she was tired of, or if it was me. Inside, David was nagging her to go get sushi. Sarah agreed. I let out a cold laugh and turned away, tossing the lunchbox into the trash. Sarah must have seen it because she came home early that night, looking a bit unsure. "Michael, my stomach still doesn't feel right. Can you make me a bowl of chicken noodle soup?" I looked at her for a long time. Then I said, "Sarah, let's get a divorce. My mom used to tell me, when food expires, just throw it away. Michael, learn to cut your losses early because keeping expired food might land you in the hospital. You'd be losing both time and money. Trying to save a bit can lead to bigger losses. We can't be the ones chasing after pennies and dropping dimes." I guess my mom was always wise. I should have cut my losses when Sarah said the lunchbox was expired. It was my fault for not seeing it clearly. "Why do you even know what you're saying?" Sarah stopped pretending. Her hand dropped from her stomach, and she looked at me confusedly. I stared at her without much emotion. My mom had treated her kindly, just like she did with me as a kid, making different dishes for her. She'd say, "Kids should eat more. Come back often with Michael and I'll cook for you." Watching Sarah devour the food, Mom's eyes would fill with tears. "How can parents be so irresponsible?" she'd say, feeling extra compassion for Sarah. But Sarah easily tossed aside the only thing left by someone she had known for just 6 months. For Sarah, I had given up a chance to study abroad. Back then, after her mom passed away, her anorexia returned. Her relationship with her mom had been complicated. She hadn't fully forgiven her, but she loved her. Her passing turned their relationship into a deadlock. During that time, she couldn't even eat the food my mom made. It was only what I cooked that she could manage to eat, bit by bit. So I turned down the chance abroad, even though just a year away could have significantly boosted my career. And now, she tells someone else she's tired of the meals I make for her. She once said I was a light in her life, that without me, she couldn't imagine how long she'd stumble in the darkness. But for the past 6 months, she had been coming home later and later. The dinner on the table grew colder, and the light meant to guide her home turned on later and later, too. She seemed like a different person now, not considering whether I would be hurt. I had broken her darkness, but now she was leaving me stranded in it. I couldn't touch her phone anymore. Last time, when she was in the shower, I answered a work call for her. He had snatched her phone back nervously and yelled at me for the first time, saying I didn't respect her. I was just answering a call. Was she afraid I'd see her flirty chats with David? Or was she scared I'd find out about all the places they went on those late nights? So, tell me why, I continued, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Are these reasons enough? I had said a lot in one breath, then poured myself a glass of water. Sarah stared at me, wide-eyed. Just because of this? Over a lunchbox? You want a divorce? When Sarah felt guilty, she raised her voice without even realizing it. She was smart, ignoring the David part and focusing on the lunchbox. Michael, have I ever told you how stubborn you are? I admit I neglected the significance of that lunchbox to you, but I made up for it as soon as I realized. I'm the CEO of a public company now, yet I went dumpster diving in my pajamas for you. Doesn't that show how much I care? We could have a good life together. Why are you hung up on this mistake? When we got together, we agreed never to casually mention breaking up, but you're casually throwing out the word divorce. Her voice got louder, more outrageous. Let's be blunt. It was something left by a dead person. Your mom was a great person. I'm grateful for her and respect her, but she's gone. You know, in the future, I'm the one who'll be with you. You want to end this for something left by someone who's deceased? I stood up and slapped her, hard enough that my palm went numb. Sarah, you've crossed the line. This house was left to me by my mom. Wanting to remember her, Sarah agreed to live here after we got married. Calmly, I gathered her things. I'll talk to a lawyer and get you the divorce papers. Don't worry, I won't take advantage of you. This house is mine. You should find somewhere else to stay. Seeing me resolute, Sarah tossed her packed luggage onto the floor, fuming. I wasn't upset. I simply crouched and picked everything up, one item at a time. She threw, I picked. We stubbornly repeated our actions. In the end, she begged me to stop. Michael, don't do this. I'll change. I'll change everything, okay? I pulled my shirt out of her grasp, still calm. Sarah, you still don't see your problem. You relied on the meals I made because they comforted you. But after eating them for so long, you got tired and began craving fancy dishes from outside. So what if you end up in the hospital? You're happy in the moment, right? But Sarah, how can people be so greedy? It's not just spoiled food that lands you in the hospital. Overeating can make you sick, too. So I let you go. Now you can save your appetite for those fancy dishes out there. I'm like homemade food, whereas David is like those fancy dishes. That's why Sarah was drawn to him. She knew she couldn't handle it, yet she couldn't resist giving it a try. She understood my metaphor, and her face turned pale. I could explain if needed. I shook my head. There's no need to explain. We've been together for so many years. You should know me by now. Sarah's right. I'm a stubborn person. I won't wait for someone to get tired of indulging outside and come back begging for a simple bowl of chicken noodle soup. Mom was right. It's important to cut your losses in time, even if it's Sarah. Habits are powerful things. Parents usually don't give kids candy because once they taste it, they'll never forget that taste, even if it means cavities. This time I forgave her. Maybe Sarah will cherish it for a while, but temptation, who can truly resist it? This life of uncertainty is not what I, Michael, ever wanted. I handed her the luggage again and asked her to leave. After Sarah left, I pulled out the lunchbox I had put away. I had always taken care of it, but at some point a crack had appeared at the bottom. Its experience in the trash had left some stains that wouldn't wash off. See, everything leaves a mark. I gave Sarah the divorce papers through my lawyer. She didn't react. I didn't care. Worst case, I'd file for divorce. I was busy with plans to go abroad, too busy to worry about it. Luckily, my company gave me another chance. That day, while packing for next month's departure, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. It was David. The young guy was indeed full of energy, even in the role of a boyfriend. "Michael, can I come in and talk?" I politely stepped aside. As soon as he entered the living room, he dramatically covered his nose. "Wow, what a strong smell of cooking oil. Michael, are you always this messy at home? No wonder Sarah's been staying at the office lately. I wouldn't want to come back either." I didn't have time for sarcasm and told him to get to the point. He hesitated for a moment, then burst into laughter. "As expected, a straight shooter. I just wanted to tell you today that you're not right for Sarah." I watched him with interest. "Oh, and who is—" "Kid, it's fine to take shortcuts, but have some morals. It'll come back to bite you if you mess with someone who has a family." He was so angry his delicate features twisted into a scowl. "You getting dumped was only a matter of time?" he snapped. "Do you even know that Sarah is tired of you? All you do is cook, cook, cook. It's a pain with so much good food out there. Who cares about your cooking? You think you're making a big contribution or that you're amazing? Please, women hate that burden." He gave me a meaningful look. Honestly, I was a bit impressed by his audacity. "If that's the case, why don't you say this to Sarah? Isn't she staying at the office, which is perfect for your little world? Why come running to me, embarrassed and angry? Or maybe Sarah is fed up and wants some homemade food again? Kid, don't objectify yourself. This is not worth it for a woman." Sarah had explained a lot to me. She said she and David had some flirtation, but it never went beyond that. On those late nights, they went to amusement parks, explored alleyways for food, and ate at popular restaurants, but they never went to hotels. Sarah was smart, always leaving herself an out. But she didn't know that sharing everyday life is a deeper bond than physical desire. I was shocked by Sarah's shamelessness, and grateful I wasn't blinded by 10 years of feelings. Thankfully, I had the courage to cut my losses in time. In the end, David stormed out angrily, rejected by Sarah and humbled by me. I guess Sarah was having a tough time. Sure enough, David made a scene. He claimed he and Sarah had feelings for each other, and that Sarah had abandoned him due to my threats. He demanded accountability from Sarah. The drama blew up, even getting filmed and shared on local video platforms. Morality tales have always been a captivating watch. People dug up Sarah's information, causing a nosedive in her company's stock price. Eventually, unable to withstand the pressure from other shareholders, she promised David an explanation. On our way to the marriage registration office, she gave me a pleading look. "Michael, if you forgive me, I can give up the company. Let's leave here and start over, okay?" I looked at her and walked in without a word. My future was bright. After returning from abroad, I'd be a regional manager at headquarters. Who would want to start over with her? Getting the divorce certificate finally set me free. The year abroad went smoothly, and I learned a lot. Without being tied down to daily chores, I discovered how vast the world could be. A year later, when I returned, my colleagues gave me a grand farewell party. Michael, we hope you'll have a great career after returning home. Don't let yourself get restrained and come visit us often, my foreign colleagues said in broken English. I hugged them with tears in my eyes. No worries, I won't be tied down by those lunchboxes anymore. After returning home, my boss gave me a week to recharge. Rested, I went with him to discuss an important collaboration. I never expected to see Sarah again in this lifetime. I have to say, time is a wonderful thing. A year on, the good and bad memories had already faded. So, when facing Sarah, I could calmly extend my hand. Sarah, I hope today's meeting goes smoothly. Sarah held my hand, trying hard not to tremble. Her eyes went from hopeful and excited to dull. I took out the papers, all business, not really looking at her. In the end, Sarah didn't compromise with David. She sold her shares and started a new company. Now she's doing quite well. The contract stuff went smoothly. Both sides were good with the terms. Then, right when the waiter was serving the food, a crazy man burst in. Sarah, why aren't you answering my calls? Do you know the lengths I went to just to get your new number? David wasn't his usual self. Sarah shot me a look, frowned, then spoke to David. I thought I was clear. We have nothing to do with each other. Please don't come looking for me again. David was losing it. Liar! You're such a liar! You were the one who came to me first. What gives you the right to just leave me? Then he saw me and rushed at me viciously. Is it because of this guy? He doesn't want you, yet you are still hanging around like an idiot. The boss stepped in front of me, staring meaningfully at Sarah. Sarah, I don't care about your personal life, but if this hurts my employees, we need to talk. Sarah apologized to us repeatedly, then called security to get David out. He fought hard, creating a mess. 2 middle-aged people burst in. They went at David, beating him up mercilessly. I sent you to college in the city, hoping you'd marry well, get money for your brother's wedding and house, but what did you do? Living it up, spending on yourself, never sending anything home. You got dumped and you still hang around, the man yelled. David seemed scared of the ranting man, losing his cocky attitude, looking all meek. Dad, give me another chance! I'll make her give money for my brother's house! The woman spat at Sarah. You poor thing, so cheap. Let's see when you go bankrupt. Don't waste time, your brother can't wait. No house, no marriage, come back with us. We've collected the bride price in the village. Hard to imagine parents like this these days, but nobody stopped them. David got dragged away, desperate. No wonder he clung to Sarah like that, even willing to be the other man. Sarah's move had made him hopeful. But it was all for nothing. The meal ended badly. Sarah was pale, her eyes vacant. She probably thought of her own chaotic childhood. This time she had pushed herself into the darkness, and I didn't have a spare hand to pull her back. 2 months later, Sarah showed up outside my place. Sorry, Michael. I know I shouldn't come to you. I stepped back, avoiding her touch. What is it? She laughed at herself. Could you make me a lunchbox again? I haven't had a proper meal in a while. Just can't eat. Sarah looked much thinner than last time, her face unnaturally pale. Her eyes were full of that depth again, like when we first talked. She had cautiously asked where to buy my lunchboxes, with so much hope. Sorry, Sarah, I haven't made lunchboxes in a long time. I can't do that for you. Her hand rose and fell in the dark, eventually dropping in defeat. I moved past her to go upstairs. Michael, she called from behind. If I didn't crave the new things outside, would we be like this? I just really miss your cooking. I was wrong. I truly was. The night wind was strong, scattering the realization she had found too late. I said nothing, didn't turn back. The boss learned about our past and didn't let me handle that project anymore. After that, I never saw Sarah again. Much later, an old college friend asked to meet. She handed me a letter. It's from Sarah. She regrets it but couldn't face you. I calmly tore the letter and threw it in the trash. We can catch up, but let's skip the rest. My friend seemed surprised. Michael, I didn't know you could be so cold. I didn't argue. What happened between Sarah and me was too complex to explain. To others, it was just a fling with a subordinate. That's all. So I'm cold, whatever. She gave a bitter smile. Sarah's not doing well. Her eating disorder is back. She's shockingly thin. She can't work or live normally anymore. She's full of regret, ended her company, and left. No idea where. She wanted me to give you the letter before she left. Didn't expect you wouldn't even look. She pulled out a card. This is money from selling her company. She only took a little for herself. Wanted me to find a reason to hand the rest to you. She didn't want me to tell you her situation, but I thought it was unfair to her. I put the card away, oddly eyeing the person in front of me. She didn't want you to tell me? Why did you? To make me feel bad? Honestly, it doesn't bother me now. And why write me a letter? Truly disappearing doesn't involve goodbyes. Besides, like I said before, when we got divorced, I told her clearly her body's her own. Nobody else can save her. The first time I tried to save her, it took me 10 years. I don't have the energy to save her a second time. Plus, she didn't appreciate it herself. This money barely compensates me for those 10 years. I took it without a second thought. I stood up, looking at her. Tomorrow's the day I leave for the headquarters. Not much chance for us to keep in touch anyway. My new life is busy and fulfilling. I started to take care of myself, making all sorts of pretty and tasty meals, but I never made them for anyone else again. I'm the only one who gets fed now. 2 years later, I got a call from an unknown number. Sarah developed severe anorexia, which led to major depression. She ended things in a small fishing village. Can you come by? I was momentarily stunned to hear this, then a coworker's voice snapped me out of it. Sorry, I'm busy. Ripples from a pebble are pretty much negligible. Expired food belongs in the trash. Whether it's a dumpster or a landfill doesn't concern me. The same goes for people who are expired.